So I decided to make a little video just to go through the car. 1992 Mitsubishi Pajero Exceed, originally a 2.5 turbo diesel. You can see I've changed the wheels from the stock to a 16-inch so I could fit on the 33s on a 16-inch rim, which gives me a nice lightweight, semi-tall, skinny. Not very skinny, but it's I think it's a 10.5. And if I go and undo the bonnet tips and open the bonnet, give a view of the engine bay. Sorry, it's a little bit dirty. Chevy 350, it's a 5.7 litre V8, old school, with a Holly carburetor, truck Avenger, battery slightly larger than stock, coolant overflow bottle in order to accommodate the BMW radiator, BMW 7 Series radiator located behind the cooling fans. Cooling fans are from a Ford, I think it's a Falcon. Can't remember. I got them from somebody on Gumtree, and he actually posted them for 350 Rand. When I phoned, he said I could just have them for free. You can see the air intake is via a snorkel, safari snorkel. It's been fitted. Then I've got the homemade kind of adapter to go into another thing that I got for free, a carbon fiber filter. This is actually from Rob Green Motorsport. This is one of their stock items, and I made myself a little fiberglass receiver for the top of the carburetor. It's nice and tall so that the gas is the air is nicely funneled into the top of the carburetor, and not only into 2 barrels of the 4-barrel. You can see it's not the stock alternator, although it's in fact a Ford alternator. If I get a little bit closer there, I don't know if it'll focus on it. There we go. It's a Ford alternator, ironically made by Mitsubishi Electric, so it returns to a Mitsubishi vehicle. Again, it's an aftermarket aircon condenser fitted. Unfortunately, I've got to make a little repair underneath this. The low pressure hose. There's actually a crack in this aluminium fitting, so I'll be fixing that this weekend, having it changed. But the rest of the aircon works. Actually a dual aircon system in this Exceed model, a separate front and rear aircon. Yeah, you can see the steering, power steering fluid reservoirs. I think that's in the stock location. I've connected the water hoses here, go up and into the heater units inside of the car, into the stock heater units. It's the stock brake booster with the stock Mitsubishi brake kit. I put a little compressor mounted here. That's for the diff lock. I actually used a diff lock from a Triton bucky, which I took the guts of the Triton out and put my own gearing in. Also fitted there, you can see the National Lunar dual battery monitor. Now I've got a second battery in the boot to support this one. I guess it's good to have a pretty decent battery up front. I bought this one it's from somebody else on the forum, a glass mat battery, pretty good one. You can see I've had to make quite extensive changes to the electrics. It's the original windscreen wiper motor. There's a whole lot of cables. I've tried to make them as neat as possible. Spent a lot of time in it. You can see there is the place to plug in my charger, the C-Tech charger. Plugs into the little plug point there if I need to. If I'm leaving the car standing for some time, I'll charge it up. I've done a fair bit to auxiliary circuits, fans, aircon fans and so on. I've got their own, each got their own relay, and then the two relays operating each fan. It was just a whole lot easier than buying and cheaper than buying a 75 amp relay. That costs about 350 rand. These are about 30 bucks at the parts shop up the road. And that's the motor. As you can see, it's a pretty tight fit. If I lean in, you can see the gap between, if I put my fat finger in here, squeeze it in, you can see the gap is pretty close. In measurement, it's probably about 15 centimeters there. And if you look there at where the aircon condenser runs, it's also about 15 centimeters. If it's adequate, it clears the radiator quite well. The previous fan I had was a mechanical fan and it ate my radiator, so I went with the electric fan rather. The V-belts I've installed, both V-belts are running over the water pump, so if one breaks, there's always one belt at least running the pump. I had to make a couple of brackets to mount both the alternator and the aircon pump. And then also the other thing that I did is I had this little unit made up so that I could install a fan switch. Fan switch switches on just about 208 degrees Fahrenheit and switches off at about 175 degrees Fahrenheit. I guess that's in Celsius. It's probably about 90 degrees switch on, 82 switch off, thereabouts. I can't remember. And that's it. The other thing that I did is my water pump, my temperature sensor, I've fitted in the cluster in the center where all the altimeter dials is. I've actually replaced those and I've fitted a decent water temperature gauge. Temperature in the V8 is an issue, so just ensure that I keep my temperature under control. Also, you'll notice I've shifted this is also not the stock aircon condenser. This is an aftermarket one. The stock one was full of holes, so I had to replace it. I also got a slightly bigger fan. The fan obviously activates only when you switch the aircon on. And when you switch the aircon on, the main fan switch on automatically as well. Because I had space constraints here and wanted to make space, I actually had to remove the catch for the bonnet, and so I've got these. I don't even know what you would call them, bonnet catches on cable. They're fairly neat and pretty solid. Got a little plastic coat on it so it shouldn't rust. It's the standard lights and so on. Then what I've done is in here, you can see the I think I'm not sure if the originals, this is the transmission cooler or the oil cooler, but what I've done is I've used this and the one below it, which you can't see, but it's behind, it's down there underneath there. You can just see the top of it. It comes with its own fan and shroud. I've connected them in series as transmission coolers because this is also a Chevy transmission, Turbo 700 R4 box. It's a 4-speed 3+ overdrive. Also, maybe just to notice the electric choke on this. Oh, and there's my paper clip I was using to check the secondary valve vacuum opening, how far it goes. Alright, let me start it up just to get an idea. internal to the cab, the leather in the back was pretty good condition, so I didn't do anything with it really. The leather in the front was shot, so actually it's been on for a couple of years now, this leather, but it's in pretty good condition. I actually had them fitted decent leather, much thicker than the stock. The rest of the interior is pretty stock. Got a little switch here with the light, that's to activate the compressor for the diff lock. Then also I have a little override switch which I fitted down here next to the lighter, which switches off the power to the cooling fans for water crossings and so on. It's got the stock gear levers, the stock transfer case selector. This is also into the stock transfer case, so I've had an adapter made to allow for the Chevy transfer case to be fitted. Kenwood VHF radio, little Alpine CD player, head unit, the stock Pajero Exceed aircon and fan switches, and then I guess unfortunately this is cracked in the heat, but I fitted an oil pressure gauge, water temperature, and if you're driving a Chevy, you want to try and drive in the economical range, so in order to check your economy, typically you want to drive around 10 inches of vacuum or more, so you're not really sucking power. And then I've just got an old Garmin that gets me from A to Z. The rest of the car is pretty much standard, pretty dirty but pretty standard. The adjustable suspension, hard, soft, hard, medium, soft, no longer active. I've got Old Man Emu suspension in. The heated seats, they still work and are still connected. I guess, and you can see the rear aircon control for the passengers. Still in place. It's got a electric sunroof. Let me start it up. Obviously the speedometer reads out because I'm on 33s at the moment, but the rev counter is working, the tachometer is connected to the distributor, so that is accurate, and yes, it is running at around 500 RPM. V8, the big Chevys, they don't run like the Toyotas at high RPMs. It's a much more low RPM, more of a burble kind of a motor. I've tried to fit as quiet as an exhaust as possible, but still allowing for free flow. So I'll get under the vehicle and show you some of the stuff. See, there's both 63mm exhaust pipes coming from headers, twin pipes. Can't really see them that well at this close angle. Both going into a free flow muffler. Turn around and show you out the back. There's a muffler silencer going out to the two pipes. You can see the Old Man Emu shocks, Old Man Emu springs in the rear. Also maybe to look at, I've got you can see here the spaces for the chassis. I did a bit of a lift on the chassis, get a little bit further from the ground. It's a 50 or 60mm thereabouts nylon bushes that I had made. There are a few things mechanically that I had to do with the prop shaft. I still have to do. There's a little bit of vibration on pull-off, so I think I'm going to put a double universal in just to try and eliminate some of it. Sizable prop shaft going out to the stock factory diff. You can see the diff